This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for the Intentionality Gurus with Candace Pollock. And today's topic, I really like this. Are your goals designed for failure or success? And, as I read that, Candace, my first thought was, oh, yeah, they're for success. But oftentimes when I go back and I think about my goals, especially if I've written them down, uh, I realize there's a lot missing.
Yeah, and I think we all have that. And there's an article that I'm going to talk about that triggered this topic today. But we've learned about the WHOOP method, what is your wish, the ultimate outcome you would like? What's the particular, so the wish is the W, the first O is the outcome you're seeking, the specific benchmark or milestone, let's say. This third or second W, the third letter is O, and it stands for obstacle, what could get in the way. And then the P is for plan B. All right, because often we throw, a goal up on the wall or something, and we think we're going to accomplish it. So we have that from the research from Gabriel Ottingen. Then Michelle Seeger says, particularly with fitness goals, it's important to set a pre-intention. So remembering something that we enjoy, not just when we reach the goal, but in the moment of doing the steps that get us to the goal. And so in wonky language, those are lead measures and lag measures. So lead measures are the actions we take now that take us to the lag measure, which is, did we hit the goal or not?
Okay.
So we focus often on the goal and not the steps. So we learned that. And then BJ Fogg says, in order to establish a habit, you have to have the habit recipe, which is an anchor, ABC, an anchor, something you reliably do, presumably brush your teeth, that you would be an anchor. And then you couple it, B, with the behavior you want and towards a habit. And C, you have to celebrate when you do it. And that behavior has to be the tiniest version of it in the beginning until you really establish that connection. And the celebration is important because it releases the dopamine. So we have all of that knowledge. But I read an article by Chris Davidson. He's a fitness and lifestyle coach, primarily for men over 40. And he had written an article that I saw in Medium. It's just one of the portals to articles and stuff. And he says that our expectations can get in the way of how and whether we're successful with goals. So, there's all sorts of boot camps. You do this and, have a beach body in 12 weeks or less. Right. All these crazy things. And I'm going to be speaking in terms of fitness, but I realized, boy, it permeates everything that I think about and do. And so the idea is, his first point is having some kind of mental timeline on when we're going to reach the goal, which is, part of the thing we do, sometimes undermines us rather than saying, this is a lifestyle change I'm making. So if we're not talking about fitness things, what occurred to me is I struggle with my sleep habits, and I've been known to stay up late, but I get up, for what people at a time when most people think it's, still the middle of the night.
Right.
Right. So like, how long do I think I can sustain that? I don't know. Any thoughts that you have so far about this?
Well, it's like, when I lost a lot of weight about 4 years ago, and my concept was I was cutting out all sugar, and I went to the gym regularly. But I had to keep telling myself over and over again, oh, I really don't like sugar, and I really love going to the gym. But in the beginning, I started losing the weight, but about midway, it was like I was just going through the motions, and I stopped losing weight. And I remember getting really upset with myself. And uh, I talked to somebody at the gym, and she said, "Well, we've noticed it. You don't walk in here with a smile anymore." And she said, like, "Did you really like coming here?" And I said, "Not really, but I was convincing myself." And she said, "Well, when you were really into it and convincing yourself, you were losing the weight in inches. Now you're just going through the motions." So I think that's about the same idea.
Yeah, it is. So your expectations is that you're going to go to the gym and get it done. And that
Right.
we're looking the fact that you need to build in some, beneficial so that you're looking forward to it.
Yep.
So that just by setting the intention of going to the gym is going to take care of it all.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So what are your thoughts about changing that mindset?
um, well, either you have to, well, I know what I have to accept is that just going to the gym and going through the motions, for me, it doesn't work, because I'm not putting in the energy that I need to make the exercising work. And so I need to step back and ask myself, is this the way that I want to do it or not? I mean, maybe the gym isn't the answer. Maybe there's something else I can be doing to get in shape. Um, and truthfully, I realized while I was out of town last week, um, doing as much walking as I was doing, that I enjoyed more. And when I stepped on the scale this morning, you know, I've lost 4 pounds. Now, to some people, that would be like, oh, that's water weight. Well, even so, it's still a loss. So I started out this morning by, gloating to my husband. I lost 4 pounds with all that walking last week.
Mhm.
Uh, and I was eating cleaner too, because uh, we were only bringing into my son's apartment, you know, uh, good, clean food. And, there's a difference there. And I enjoyed it. So I guess my concept now is, make sure that I'm eating in the same manner. And if walking doesn't, well, there's lots of opportunities to walk.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of things in what you say. So, BJ, regarding the eating, BJ Fogg would say every time you have that clean meal, go in with the attention of something tiny that you do, and then celebrate when you have the clean meal, the way you feel it. Michelle Seeger would say, um, either going to the gym or going for a walk. What is it in the midst of doing it that makes you feel good, that gives you that little internal high, or however you describe it? So for me on the rowing machine, there's a particular feeling in my legs when I'm doing that. You push away on the
Right.
foot platforms, that I know that I'm making them stronger, and that makes me happy. And so that's what motivates me to get on it. Not, there's other stuff, other byproducts of being on it, but that's the thing that I look forward to. And that's the thing I try to remember when I have, you know, I've set my intention to do it every day, but I don't always do it. But that's what gets me over that little, friction against doing it.
Right. Well, and I also noticed that when I ride my stationary bike, which I haven't done in a while, I'll be very honest about that. Um, but usually I would tie that into a TV program that I wanted to watch.
Mhm.
Um, and, only a half hour program. So whether it be I'm going to do this while I'm watching the news, I'm going to do this for something else. Um, Riding the bike became pleasurable. When I don't tie it into something like that, um, it's a chore. I'm lucky if I go 5 minutes. Whereas if I tune it into something that I'm watching, um, I have a 30-minute bike ride.
And I found the same thing on the erg. I was hitting like a set point where I didn't, just going another minute longer just seemed like an ordeal. I just didn't
Right.
want to do it. It wasn't that it was painful or uncomfortable or anything, but I just didn't want to do it for that long. You know, my attention span, I do struggle with it. And so I have an app on my phone, and I would play the app, and then I would do several of them back to back. And they each took 3 to 4 minutes, but I would do enough of them together that I was going like 25 minutes without, blinking.
Right.
The other part is in Winning of the Week that we've talked about, they talk about reducing the resistance to doing some of these things. And to do that, you basically set what they call a craveable experience that you get to reward yourself with, not necessarily in the moment, could be in the moment, but so like going to the gym, it could be, going into the sauna and, just relaxing at the end of it. So that if I do X on Monday, then on Saturday, I can go do that kind of thing. So there's all of these things that come together. But this Davidson also talks about don't expect a great result if you're combining lots of different goals at one time. And he's talking in the fitness realm. So you can't expect a good outcome across several areas that you focus on. So like strength, endurance, flexibility, and so on. You can have a general fitness program, but not to say I'm going to be able to run a marathon, next year, if you're not doing the steps that are required for it. And that would require, several different things. So his idea is that you focus on one phase at a time, build them up first, sequentially, not all at one time, kind of like having 3 or 4 balls that you're trying to take to the goal line or something. You're probably only going to get to the 50-yard line.
Right.
And then the last one is, he says, in terms of our underlying expectation, is don't make it harder because your lifestyle choices haven't been modified to support that. And this is where, for me, it's the sleep schedule that comes in. So what other thoughts are popping up with those 2 elements?
Well, so I'm not sure how this actually fits in, but when I'm working here at home in the office, I have certain things that are routine, but the ones that I find that are difficult to do, I have tried to put them in a different sequence so that they aren't quite as difficult. So for instance, I'm now maintaining 10 different websites. And what I used to do is take one day and do one after another. And I thought that was a great thing, except it wasn't, because after the 3rd or 4th, I didn't want to do the rest of them. But because that was my maintenance day, I found that I was dreading Fridays to do website updates. So instead, what I've done is, when I'm setting my calendar of podcasts and clients, I'm leaving a space so that, like today, we're doing your show. So after your show, I'll be updating your website and it will be done, but it's connected. So I have more energy to do it.
Yeah, and Winning the Week talks about the energy, matching the type of task with the energy, because we all have our chronotypes and so on, but sometimes some people have more energy in the morning and they start to flag in the afternoon.
Right.
People, they kind of slide into the day, and then their energy builds as the day goes on, and they may have more energy at night, as a matter of fact. So to be able to match the two, when they talk about different tiers of energy, and you can't expect to do a tier 1, which requires lots of energy, or involves lots of energy,
Right.
You can't expect to do that kind of task with tier 4, which is the lowest level of energy. So you have to bring your A game energy to it,
Right.
not your D game. So that's fabulous.
But what I found was when I was out of town last week with, in some ways, more available time than I have when I'm home, because I wasn't recording. Um, I figured, oh, I'm going to be able to get a lot of my paperwork done. But I found that I had this energy block. I would start to do something and then actually look at my screen and not even see what it was that what I was doing. It was just like I was in a fog. And I had talked to another friend, and she had said, well, just snap out of it. And I thought, now if I knew how to do that, I would. But it wasn't that easy. Yet, as soon as I got home yesterday, I had to go to a job site. Then, when I got back to the house and unpacked, I was able to do, I cannot tell you how much I got accomplished that I couldn't do last week. And maybe it's because it's the comfort level of where I am.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other part is, the comment of just snap out of it. There's way back in the day when I was studying for the bar exam, I happened to mention to my boyfriend at the time that, I was afraid I wouldn't pass. And everybody has that fear. And
Sure.
he said, don't be afraid. And well, that works,
Yeah.
not. And it's like saying to a child, don't be afraid of the dark.
Right.
If it were that easy, we wouldn't need any of these, insights and techniques and so on. But the idea is just noticing it and then being able to surf it and then maybe get beneath, what is the mind chatter that's undermining that and so
Right.
on. So what are some of the things that you experienced when you were out of town, attending to some other matters that you can apply to now that you're back in the saddle, so to speak?
Well, one of the big things was I did, like I said, I did a lot of walking. Um, Now the weather was warmer, it was sunny, so that was encouraging. As I look out my office window right now, it's like that doesn't look too exciting to go out there and walk. Um, but what I found was uh, my son lives in an apartment that has these horrible steps. They do not have an elevator, and they're concrete, and they are not full width. So you're walking up 22 concrete steps, you get to the landing, and then you walk up another 22. And as difficult as I was finding it, when I felt like I was in brain fog, I would walk down the steps all the way down to the first floor, which basically was a breeze. And then I would make myself walk up those steps. Um, and what I did was I kept, patting myself on the back. Hey, you did this once yesterday, but today you've done it 3 times. And even though I was exhausted after walking back up, when I did go back into his apartment, now I wasn't getting my own personal work done, but I got so much done in his apartment that it was rewarding. Uh, so I think that's something that I can do now that I'm home, whether it's go outside and walk, but not today, ride my stationary bike, or do something else that can just give me the break I need. So when I come back into the office, um, I'm feeling recharged.
Yeah, and the Pomodoro method, we've talked about that, where you do something for 25 minutes or 60 minutes, whatever time frame, but not more than 90 minutes in a stretch. And then you take a 5-minute break, and then you do another 25. And it's important to take the break But the other part that stands out for me is both of the instances you were talking about. One, it was changing your focus, just having a little, like a landing on the
Right.
steps. And then I think it was oxygenating your brain, getting the body moving and so on. And there is science that talks about those things in terms of needing to move periodically throughout the day. We're so sedentary. I mean, I'm appalled when I look at the app on my phone that tells me how many steps I've taken in a day, a typical office day, if I don't intentionally build those in. The
Yep.
first time I got a little Fitbit wannabe, I walked all of 32 steps. Like, I think I probably walked less than a slug would move,
Well,
but after that, I got a handle on it.
yeah. And it's difficult when you have a job or career where you are doing a lot of sitting. And I almost have to, I was putting it on my calendar to take the breaks. But I took it off there because what was happening was it would pop up, it's time to, get up, and it'd be like, but I'm in the middle of something. So now I try to, um, feel when I need to get up, when I need to go for that walk. Um, and, I haven't been good about it here at home as I'd like to be, but just coming back and seeing what I was doing while I was away, I really think it's something that I know I want to implement because, like you said, it put more oxygen in my brain. I was thinking more clearly, and I was mindful of what I was doing.
Yeah, because our brain, kind of goes into, I don't know, not quite idle mode, but not necessarily intention mode. And it
Exactly.
can't sustain that all day. It's just unrealistic. One of those expectations, I have all of these things to do, I'm going to get them all done. Well, if that isn't a total myth in terms of we'll get it all done, we just have to pick the most important things to get done.
Absolutely.
So what specifically stands out for you that you might want to remember, or our listeners might want to remember going forward?
Um, Even if you are a workaholic, you have to find something that gives you joy away from your routine of work. Um, and even if it's not career work so much, even if it's taking care of a family or running errands. I used to think of my running errands as my break from work.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, I was talking to one of my new clients, and she kept saying, you know, the best thing I can do from work is remind them that I have to go run an errand. I have to go to Office Max to get paper or whatever. And I said, wow, you sound like me. So let's talk about it. Is that really a break? And all of a sudden she said, you know what? No, that's work. I said, so what if you took a walk around your building? And she said, well, I'd feel self-conscious. And I said, okay, then go someplace else where people don't know you and take that walk. But I realized how many of us think that, oh, I'm going to get a break from taking care of my kids because I'm going to go to the grocery store. Well, unless it's a real enjoyable thing you like to do, um, for me, that's not taking a break, but I used to say it was.
Well, and what occurs to me when you're saying that is also like preparing meals for others.
Right.
Some people it's enjoyable, for some people it's just another duty that they're fulfilling, and it's not real downtime. So in the context of are your goals designed for success or failure? I think this is just a perfect illustration of it, that we set all of these goals, and yet our expectations that things in our lifestyle, things, the way we structure our days, or how we, what timeframes we think that we can accomplish things, is unrealistic, and it compromises everything we say we want.
Well, so we want to set our goals for success. We all identify success differently. And I think, we have to also realize that occasionally those goals will lead to failure. But if we can learn from it, we're going to be better the next time.
Yeah,
And
always noticing.
I just have to, before we end this, I just have to say that while I was away, the first couple days, I kept thinking to myself, oh, I'm letting people down. I'm not getting things done that I need to get done. But then luckily, I remembered something from the positive intelligence, and that was like, who am I letting down? And I had to ask myself. And I realized I was letting myself down because I was worrying about people that probably didn't even know that I was worrying about them.
Sure.
And so I actually, my husband thought it was funny because we were sitting in the waiting room at the hospital, and I just stood up and I took a couple steps back and I looked around the room, and he called me over. He said, "Are you okay? What are you looking for?" And I said, "No, I'm just clearing my mind." I said, "Because I don't have to be responsible to all those people that are in my head." And then I had to explain it to him. I said, there were things that I told people I would do. I'm not doing it. Even though I told them I can't do it, and they all said, yes, that's all right. It was still in my brain that, I have all this stuff to do. And once I took that step back, it was like, no, I don't. I'm okay.
So just taking that load out of your brain and setting it aside for the
Yeah.
time being.
So I hope all of our listeners realize that, yes, there are certain things that we absolutely may have to do, but, there are times that if we can just take a step back and say, it's not going to get done today,
Yeah, and what are
and be
your
okay.
expectations about what you're going to accomplish, and
Exactly.
realistic? So
Well, for another session of the Intentionality Gurus, um, I hope our listeners will start to tell us, how they set goals and how it works for them, because sometimes, we can all learn, a little different methodology that might help us. So
just noticing those little forks in the road where we can make a choice.
I love it. Thanks, Candace. We will do this again in 2 weeks. Have a great
Thank you,
day.
Karen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.